world-renowned economist and senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, John Taylor. Good to see you, John. What do you think? I mean, the markets seem to be taking it in stride now. What is the real danger of a quote-unquote Brexit?
I think they're digesting some pretty good news about this whole thing. You know, people are getting sensible about how to implement a new agreement. Even those who are against Brexit are saying it's important to negotiate something good. They're emphasizing, actually, I think a lot of talk about free trade, kind of reducing regulations, even tax reform that could be more possible with this separation. So I think the markets are slowly digesting that. It is quite a turnaround, I agree.
So you think that this is positive, this is healthy for the UK in its economy?
It will be if people seize the opportunity. You know, there's a real difference between the economic measures of freedom in Britain versus the European Union. It's better in terms of economic freedom and the way the European Union has held that back. And so I think this separation will enable the British to improve their economy in many of these dimensions, which they've been held back to some extent by the EU. So while there's lots of reasons to be concerned about the transition, how it will play out, the political uncertainty you just heard about, all those things, I think if people seize the opportunity, it can be a positive.
Let me ask you, John, a lot of people have been making these comparisons between what just happened in the UK and, of course, what's happening here in the United States, and that people are getting fed up with all this government bureaucracy and they want to effectively take their country back. Do you see similarities?
Yeah, there's some similarities, no question about it. The notion that Brussels was having authority over the British, the notion that Washington is having too much authority over the United States on issues. I think it's promising. One thing, though, I think there's quite a difference, though, is what we're seeing in the British moves is not a movement away from free trade or markets. In anything, it's moving towards that, where I think some of the things you're hearing about in the U.S. are kind of moving away from free trade. So
let me ask you very quickly, because I don't have a ton of time, but you know, you're a big deal economist. You even have an economic rule named after you, I should point out to everyone. But what do you think of this globalization sort of pushback that you're seeing now, which defies sort of common sense in economics, but yet has really cost American workers? Your thoughts?
Well, it's a real question. I think the U.S. has benefited from its openness, from its trade. Yes, there are setbacks, and like any new technology is going to be a setbacks, but let's not forget how positive trade has been. We could look at the negatives, but those positives are good. Globalization is much more complicated. It has to do with immigration, borders, but I think in terms of trade, it's a positive.
John Taylor, thank you so much. Good to see you.